Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Leroux and I'm from the Genetics Department which forms part of the Faculty of AgriScience. Today I'm here to tell you a bit more about genetics, why it's important and how you can possibly specialize in it. So to start off with, what is genetics? Now I'm pretty sure that you heard plenty of different types of definitions of genetics, but we define genetics as the study of genes, hereditary and genetic variations in all living organisms. Now, to do this effectively, we have to apply different types of techniques that there is, and often we refer to this as biotechnologies. And this helps us to understand genetics, but we also have to apply advanced computer science such as machine learning, and all of this helps us to elucidate certain genes finding. Now, genetics is a fast-paced industry, and I always tell my students to stay on top of all the publications and the research that is being put out every day. They need to go on social media, specifically Twitter and LinkedIn, and follow these specific hashtags, which I think is reliable sources. And also, they publish every day. So now that I've given you a definition of genetics, why is genetics important? Now, genetics is important for 4 fundamental reasons that our department also touches on or does research on. Now, we're all currently in the pandemic, right? And for this reason, genetics has actually helped us quite a lot when it comes to vaccine design and viral infection. Although we don't necessarily do COVID-19 research directly, since I spoke about viral infection, we do give lectures on COVID-19, specifically in certain modules. The next reason why genetics is important is in pharmaceutical drug design or personalized medicine. Now, we have one specific lab, the Human Genetics Lab, that focuses on mental health and pharmacogenetics. Now, we've all experienced the severe heat wave for the past few weeks now in South Africa. Now, the Department of Genetics actually recognizes that farmers are also suffering due to this heat wave because crops can't exactly cope with this adverse environmental conditions. And so taking that into consideration, we actually are in the process of designing specific crops that can tolerate these conditions. And we refer to this as supercrops. So in order to do this efficiently, we actually apply advanced plant breeding techniques in addition to molecular techniques such as CRISPR for genetic modification. And last but not least, genetics also have an active role when it comes to conserving certain species or endangered species. Now, we have one big research lab that actually focuses on this, and they do population genetics on sharks. So now that I've given you the definition and I've given you the importance of genetics, I think the next thing that you're probably wondering is genetics for you? So we have devised 6 questions for you, and if you can answer 4 of these questions, then I think pretty much genetics is for you. The first question is, do you enjoy biology? And if so, do you like solving problems? Do you have an appetite for discovery? Are you good with numbers? Not necessarily excellent with numbers, but are you good with numbers? Are you innovative? Can you think outside the box? And last but not least, that I think is important, are you a hardworking person? As I just mentioned to you now, if you can answer 4 of those questions, yes, I pretty much think that genetics is possibly for you. So genetics forms part of the university, right? And so for that reason, our department is actually a teaching department. So we have a host of different types of students from all sorts of different backgrounds, and they are focusing on genetics, either specializing in animal or plant genetics or human genetics. So they can either do an honors or a master's or a PhD. Now, because we have such a large cohort of students, we actually have a lot of different types of equipment that students can make use for their research. In the image on the left-hand side here, you can see that this is after we've isolated a specific gene, we've now taken it out, but now we need to confirm whether or not we have the correct gene. For this reason, we have to feed the information into a computer software, and this can actually tell us whether or not the gene is the correct size. And this machine or this computer is actually attached to a very specialized equipment. So our department also have access to different types of technology in the field of plant science, human science, and animal science, which is obviously all genetics. So the first thing, if you'd like to do some plant genetics, we actually have access to drone technology, specifically for plant breeding. The human geneticists make use of advanced psychiatric tools, which is for personalized medicine. And last but not least, you'll also find that they also do population genetics for aquaculture, specifically in abalone. And this type of research is very often applied in forensics. So, all those topics that I've given you, as you can see, there's a human genetic component, animal genetics, and plant genetics. But how can you study genetics at Stellenbosch University? The first thing that you need to ask is, which direction do you want to go into? Now, human genetics, if you have a passion for human genetics or humans in general, you would have to go and study BSc Human Life Science or BSc Molecular Biology and Biotechnology. All of this forms part of the Faculty of Natural Science. If you're an animal lover, for example, you'd have to go into BSc Animal Productions and Systems, and this forms part of the Faculty of AgriScience. For the plant lovers like myself, you will have to do a BSc Agric in Plant and Soil Sciences, which also forms part of the Faculty of AgriScience. Now, the photo on the left-hand side, or your right-hand side, you will see that there is a big red door. This is actually the entrance to our department. It's very dramatic looking at this door, and it can be quite intimidating. In fact, when I came to the genetics department a few years ago, I saw this big door, and I was pretty much intimidated. But I can assure you, behind this door, there's a lot of friendly faces. So I absolutely have to show you how beautiful our building looks like. It pretty much looks like Miami Vice or the PlayStation game GTA Vice City. We are located on the second floor, and that's where you'll find that big red door. Now, all of those topics that I've explained to you about human genetics, animal genetics, and plant genetics, you can actually do all of that at the Department of Genetics, which I form part of. So, the Department of Genetics actually also have a sister department, which is known as the Institute of Plant Biotechnology. Now, I did my honors at the Institute of Plant Biotechnology, and not to be biased, they do really, really incredible research. They focus on sugarcane, moss, potato, and microgreens for those who love their salads. Now, coming back to the genetics department, you'll find that there's also a research laboratory that does human genetics, and they focus on mental health diseases such as schizophrenia. Now, the animal geneticists, which is also part in our department, they focus on flies, sharks, and abalone. And last but not least, my absolute personal favorite is plant genetics. In there, you will find that we also do research on wheat, grapevine, and citrus. As you can see, the genetics department has a host of different types of genetics that you can specialize in. So, what is my daily activities like? Well, I get to the office, I do my admin, but my daily activities also include some research and teaching, so you'll probably see me in your first year in Bio 124, where I'll be teaching you about genetics. I also give class to the final year BSc students, where we focus on genetic engineering. So there's an integration of research and teaching, but we also have community interaction. This might not form part of my everyday, but it does form part of being an academic. And one of the best parts of being an academic is that you also have time for self-care. And this is why you'll find me at 6:30 in the gym, enjoying myself or relaxing or going for a run. And also after that, spending some time with my family. So to end of this lecture, or to end of this slides, I want to tell you that genetics is actually a very integrated field of science. We collaborate with various different types of engineers, human physiologists, entomologists, and all of this helps us to give concrete information or recommendation when it comes to genetics. Thank you, and good luck with the next part of your journey. And I hope to see you soon in the first year genetics class.